Hello, everybody. It's Argent and Serp, and we're back we're done playing Boomer card games for the moment. And we're just going to talk about something less serious than children's card games. That is the future of the world towards a post corona world order. So I guess maybe we'll just give I guess I'll give my hot take and then you can do your hot take and then we'll discuss. Um, I think we're probably going to see because we were kind of heading towards if not a bipolar world, then a multipolar world. And I don't know if that's going to happen because, like, the two biggest countries that project kind of the most power globally, China and America, I think are going to be completely devastated by this. So I don't know if they'll be able to maintain, in essence, kind of their global empires in the aftermath of this. To me, it looks like the only kind of great power that's going to get out of this in one piece is Russia. And Japan, if they choose, could be in a good place for some revanchism. So,
Well, why do you want go through what you're saying and then I'll critique it.
oh, okay. So I could just see like some regional powers emerging. Um, but I don't really think there's going to be a new world order per se to replace what we have now.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a new world order, but I think the US is going to be hurt more than China is, at least internally. Can I give you my worst case scenario for the US?
Sure, say whatever you want.
Biden wins. Think of like just have you seen what Biden like
Wouldn't Bernie be worse though?
no, but Biden isn't in control of his body.
That's true. But I don't know. I think China.
Biden would be worse than Bernie winning by far because Bernie has control of his body.
I mean, I guess the other thing I'm just thinking about when we're talking about this is keep in mind China kind of dependent upon selling stuff to the West. It has an export oriented economy. So how is this export oriented economy going to endure
I
if
think it's going to economically hurt China.
yeah, because isn't this also going to devastate China? Like, the devastation of the U.S. economy, I guess geopolitically, in some ways, will help China. But economically, the devastation of basically every developed country other than South Korea and Japan is going to be like, I don't know how their export oriented economy is going to deal with that.
I mean, do you think that the US, like, I think that the US is going to lose more people than the rest of the world unless if it puts down a lockdown.
I could see them losing more than the rest of the world combined.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If they don't put down a
Sorry,
lockdown
more
because
than
of
the rest
how
of the world.
bad this is like what's going on is insane. I don't know if you know this, but shelter in place is like a massive joke. It's a catastrophic joke. There's like every single business has exemptions basically.
In Canada, we only hardware stores. What are some weird things that have exemptions?
Well, I think a hardware store is weird. I think that a store that sells like auto body parts, or I think a store that's like a repair shop for cell phones, or a cell phone shop, or a gun shop, I think those are all weird,
I think they've shut
non-essential.
those down.
Okay, I think that a restaurant is catastrophically idiotic and just ignorant of the disease
Have
to have any restaurants open whatsoever because that is complete ignorance and ignoring the nature of the disease and how super spreading works.
because like in Canada, so are dining rooms closed at least?
Their dining rooms are closed, but let's put it like this. Guy gets coronavirus. Guy sweats on pizza. Guy makes 50 pizzas. sweats on 5 of them. 5 people get coronavirus, super spread.
Uh-huh.
Guy does it for 3 days in a row. 15 people get coronavirus before you're symptomatic.
Right.
It's very easy to super spread through food. Through it's just it's just fucking retarded, I think personally. But they lobbied, so I guess that's just how it works. They lobbied to
They
get
lobbied and just a lot
exemptions.
of people won't cook.
Yeah, well, too bad. I guess you got to eat dry cereal for a month.
You think though that like grocery stores should
Human
stay
life is
open,
more
right?
important. Well, if you're going to have an exemption of grocery stores, you shouldn't have an exemption of restaurants.
I think we have to
I don't
keep grocery
it's
stores open. Like I don't
Well,
think
if you can
that's
have grocery stores open, but the government should give the grocery store workers hazard pay.
yeah, in Canada
When you're forcing grocery store workers to work slightly above minimum wage for 40 plus hours a week, and they're constantly exposed. I'm just really mad at where I am in my life with all these like all the non-essential workers talking about how I need a mask, but I can't afford any masks.
Mhm.
And if I had a mask, they could wear a mask for because they're gonna leave their house for 2 hours a week if they just go to the grocery store, and they could use the same mask 5 weeks in a row.
Mhm.
But if I used a mask, I would ruin it in one day. I'm
Right.
just very I'm very angry about kind of class divisions here right now
Um
regarding masks and regarding the shutdown.
I kind of think the $1,200 thing is a joke. I mean, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That just doesn't seem like very much. Are they doing anything else? Because like in Canada, the federal government is subsidizing, I think, up to 75% of people's base salaries.
No, they're not doing it. It's just $1,200 in the future, whenever that happens.
Like, let me look this up because we actually,
Plus kids, if you have kids.
it's always about the kids. Sorry, it just irritates me sometimes when people with kids get a bunch of money and I don't. So I think, let me just look up what we're doing. Let's see here. So schools here are not opening next month. We're still under a state of emergency. Don't worry though, because we're gonna reopen by next week. So Trump can pet the Easter Bunny. Is he still saying that?
Uh, I think so.
He's still like, because it's growing in the U.S. faster. I guess maybe Germany or Italy is still in absolute numbers, maybe, but it's I think.
No, the U.S. is the highest in absolute numbers by a substantial margin.
Oh, now it is okay.
It's been that, I think, for a week.
I mean in terms of growth rate.
Um, in like population wise,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see here. So in Canada, we're giving a 25% wage subsidy for businesses um, hit by it. So the federal government will subsidize wages up to 75% if businesses don't lay off their workers. Um, I think they
No, like there's mass layoffs occurring in the United States.
they're trying really hard in Canada to avoid. So they're offering like a bunch of like interest-free loans and like all kinds of other stuff. Um, so they're predicting that the unemployment rate will probably peak at 15% in Canada, which isn't it going to be like at least 30% in the states?
Um,
Because there's the Fed
I don't know
president,
what is it now.
uh,
Wasn't he claiming it'd be? He's claiming it'd be like 30%.
and that the economy would shrink by 50%.
Yeah.
So Trudeau has announced people in Canada who don't qualify, who Can if their EI is not enough, they can trade their EI for $2,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
um, for the duration of the crisis. Which, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's not really enough to pay rent and eat, but that's a pretty big. Okay, so let's see here. The federal government will provide a $2,000 per month taxable benefit for 4 months for Canadians who have been financially impacted by the coronavirus. It applies to all wage earners as well as contract workers and self-employment employed people, including those who aren't eligible for employment insurance. Um, so I mean, I got to give it to us. At least we're like, they're providing some like money. Uh, but yeah, so all the federal government is doing is printing like $1,200, and like the other stuff is kind of a joke. Like, what are they doing? Delaying student loan payments or some nonsense like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody, like people that have rent, they have to keep paying their rent, for instance.
Right. They haven't changed that in Canada either. I mean, I paid my rent this month.
Well, I did too. I'm just saying, I think people that pay house payments, they don't have to, but people that pay rent have to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's very, very. See what I'm getting at, where I'm getting very angry Nazbol wise?
Oh, just because of how classist this whole thing is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Um, I don't know. I would imagine, I could be wrong, that people who rent are probably less financially secure on average than people who own a home.
Well, obviously they're gonna be because they rent.
Right. No, I mean, but in like cities, they might be fairly well off.
Oh, well, I mean, in like small towns, I mean, well, the majority of people that aren't well off are going to be renters.
Right, that's true.
The absolute majority of people that aren't well off are renters. So,
It is kind of irritating to me the people who are like, "Oh, the Trump bucks." Are they in denial? Like the people who say like this is awesome?
the Trump bucks.
Yeah,
I mean, are those people real?
I've
I've never met
seen.
somebody saying
Oh,
that.
really? Oh, aren't some like
Yeah.
Republicans saying that?
Oh, maybe I don't. They're fucking retarded then.
So, what have the Democrats proposed?
Giving massive amount. I think that like they wanted even more Trump bucks plus like Trump bucks to unions.
Wasn't there like a bunch to like illegal immigrants and shit like that?
Yeah, it might have been. They might have tried to give stuff to illegal immigrants.
So, I don't know. Trump is not going to declare a national emergency, is he? I guess at this point.
I think what's going to happen is I think tens of thousands of people are going to die in New York, and when people start dying in mass in New York, he's going to go ape shit. I think it'll like trigger him really hard.
And he'll just go full fasci, or
I think yeah, I think so. I think he'll flip and he'll actually do stuff,
he'll do it for like a week. What's the
and
next?
then he'll change his mind.
What is like the next holiday after Easter?
I don't know.
Um, I don't know. He'll want to go for like go to some other holiday. Um, like I don't know, like go to like Fourth of well, I guess July. So yeah, I think like at this point America's just fucked. Like I don't even know if at this point in time, like it matters, like how much of a lockdown they do, because it's already almost like 200,000 cases. It's growing like exponentially at this point in time. And isn't the U.S. doing less testing than most countries? Like,
I think regionally. Well, everything's like regional because he's not doing anything federally.
because isn't almost all of the testing being done in like New York? Or am I?
Yes. Yeah.
So it could be worse in other states, but we have no idea, do we?
Yeah. No.
I think you said that a lot of people think New Orleans is probably
Yeah.
as bad as New York.
Yep.
I'm just looking here. Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana only has 5,000 confirmed people at the moment. I don't think there's any way that's the case. Um, what was that nonsense about the like Trump gave them like 5 ventilators or something like that to like New York,
Oh, it was the FEMA gave them 400 when they asked for 30,000.
and they like said it was like a great victory.
Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, FEMA is like has everything, and they're just like hoarding it, and they're not giving it to states. So it's like all the resources are being taken up by FEMA, who aren't distributing it.
I mean, isn't that what it's for? Like, aren't they supposed to kind of be like a central
Yeah, but they aren't doing. They're just like taking the resources and just.
so they're just not going to do anything with them?
I don't think so because they're fucking retarded.
I mean, so like looking at Canada, okay, so we are at 8,500 cases and we had 1,000 yesterday. But like, okay, so Canada's roughly a tenth the size of the U.S. So yeah, you're growing at like 200% of what Canada is like proportionally. Um, yeah, America has had 20
America's fucked. Like we're
America
just fucked.
America had 23,000 cases today.
Yep.
The death rate isn't that high yet, but I guess the healthcare system hasn't been overwhelmed yet.
It will be in a week or 2 weeks. I think that all hell is going to break loose in about a week to two
Do you think
weeks.
there's going to be riots over medical bills?
I don't know how the medical bills are working right now. I think it's all in the air.
Because, I mean, that's like the least they could do.
It's just give it for free. I
Yeah.
think some states are for free and some aren't. It's just everything's by state and it's just complete chaos.
Well, we can't print money to do that, but we can print money to, like, give to, like, I don't know, like some big company.
So you think that this is going? I think this will cause like a mild multi-year recession in China, but I think this is going to like kick, basically like fuck up the U.S. for like years. Or I mean, like this is going to drastically lead to the decline of the U.S.
I mean, are they gonna. The question is. I mean, I think the thing that irritates me almost the most is how much money the US spends on the military. Like, and if they would even have diverted like a couple percentages points of that to disaster relief, like to prepare for this. Let me see. The U.S. military budget is $748 billion. Let me see what FEMA's budget is. Okay, so FEMA is 18 billion. Let me see what the CDC is. Center for Disease Control. I'm kind of a bit because I actually had a little bit of faith in the
Drumpf
it's what, sorry?
in Drumpf.
No, in the CDC. Like
I don't
I didn't
know.
think the
Yep.
CDC was that bad. I mean, I knew FEMA was shitty, but yeah, okay, so yeah, they did cut. So I think Trump did cut the CDC, and I think he did cut FEMA in order to give more money to the military. So do you think that America is just going to continue to fund Israel, like regardless of what happens? Like,
I don't know, man.
um, I could. Do you think? I'm just wondering what's going to happen with Russia as well. um, at this point in time. Like if they're gonna try to take advantage of this, because they seem like of the great powers to be the least poorly badly hurt. Like Russia doesn't really have that many cases, and it's not growing very quickly. So also Russia is one of the most self-sufficient countries on earth, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could emerge for this okay. Japan seems to have gotten a. Let me see what Japan is at. I think Japan is doing pretty well, aren't they now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Japan's only at 2,000, and yeah,
What do you think that the EU is gonna look like after all this?
I don't. You think it's the end of the EU, right?
I think that the EU is going to decline a lot.
Because I mean, there's not going to be a wealthy country. Because generally speaking, how the EU works is whatever the issues were, Germany, the Britain, and France propped up the rest of the countries.
Mm-hmm.
So they would just throw money at the problem until like the other countries were just so paid off that they would just stay with the EU. But Germany is at like 672,000 infected. Spain is like collapsing. Italy's particularly I think it's in northern Italy, which is the economically productive part of the country. So none of those countries are going to have the funds after this to pay for rebuilding the poorer countries. Um, Japan's going to blow up a little. I don't know. Japan seems to be doing okay. South Korea is also doing okay. Um, Part of the thing is we just a lot of countries are just not doing testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in Latin America, I don't think they're doing much.
I don't think they really have that ability.
Yeah. Um, it's because I kind of wonder about some countries with a large underclass. Like that's the thing with Israel is I could see it getting really, really bad with the Palestinians, and then that's spreading to the main population. And I wonder what's going to happen with like the refugee camps. Like if it's just going to go through it. So I don't know. I see a bunch of people. I don't know. Like I think this has got to really hurt international trade, regardless of what happens at the end of the day.
I think that this is going to. I think that what is going to happen is you're going to see a lot more push towards autarky,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And I think that um, people are going to remember that they closed the borders
Mm-hmm.
and it worked.
Right. Well, it was like I know in Canada they said we can't close the border. People just will illegally cross. We can't close the border. It won't help. And then the next week they closed the border, and it like massively improved the situation. Um, let's see here. Apparently, Moon Runes is saying Japan hasn't tested very many people. Um, Someone's saying there's going to be a Russian export boom. That seems probable. Um, what do you think about imposing sanctions on China after this is over
Based in red pill.
and trying to make them pay reparations? That's something Jim is really heavily advocating. Um, China lied, people died. That we have to try to milk some money out of them. Because, like, I don't know if they had have told us how bad this was back in, but then again, would it have really mattered? I mean, let's be honest. Would any of the world leaders have done anything different if we knew about this a month early, or would they have
So
just?
we did know about this.
I mean, how bad it was.
I mean, I did like I knew how bad it was. Like it was pretty crystal clear how fucking bad it was.
Yeah, you figured it out. And
I
then
figured it out in like a day.
you explained it to me and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." So like that's how fucking you like our I mean, it's hard to determine how much of it is stupidity and how much of it is evil.
Hmm.
Um cuz these people are like completely delusional. Like I think a lot of them are high off their own supply, but I think a lot of it was we need to just have the stock market go on for just a little while longer. Um, but yeah, it's a
It's a fucking joke. I don't know.
but no, you're right. Like as you said, two people with like bachelor's university degrees were able to like figure this out. Like Jim's observation, what he said like when this thing started is the Chinese government is run by like corrupt kleptocrats. And if they were so scared, they'd lock their entire economy down and completely fuck China for the next few years because they were so scared of this thing. Shouldn't that be an indication of how bad it is? Like if
No, no. What's more important is keeping the stock market up like the last flame, the lost flame. How do you pronounce it in
first
Dark
flame,
Souls? The first flame. You
throwing
just
more on the
gotta keep the
bonfire.
stock market like the fucking first flame.
But I mean, like when Jim said that, that is a very good point because I mean, yeah, China is run by kleptocrats, and it's like they're so fucking freaked out. They aren't even going. Like even they are not going to. They're placing not economic devastation above it. People are asking who Jim is. Jim is Mr. Medicare. I just find Jim easier to say than Mr. Medicare. Um, yeah, the stock market. I mean, the stock market's recovered a bit. Is that just because of how much money they're pumping into it?
I think that again, when the people start dying in New York, I think that because I think that what's going to happen is the U.S. is going to go into a massive recession. That there's a possibility that somebody like Biden's going to win. If Biden is actually attempts to be president, the U.S. will essentially have no executive branch, and the U.S. will be in a massive depression with no executive branch, with probably like a Republican Senate and a Democratic House fighting like tooth and nail over everything. Like the U.S. will just have no control over its federal government. I mean, like I think that what may happen is that the federal government may dissolve. Like the states are just going to gain so much power because the states are acting on their own in this whole thing.
Right. Well, some of them are starting to impose border controls, aren't they?
Yeah, supposedly Montana is.
I know. I think it's Rhode Island has not permitting people from New York to enter. Like, let's see. So people are saying that they've sold all their assets for gold. I don't really see a reason to sell my index funds because they've lost money, and like where else am I going to put the money? Gold has a massive premium on it. Plus, there's no, I don't know, the government might, because during the Great Depression, Roosevelt just confiscated all the gold. Um,
Yeah, well, I thought about actually buying Bitcoin. Laugh at
mhm.
me, but then I was like, oh, well, when they just like, couldn't they just make it so Bitcoin's illegal in the country?
I mean, I think having like a diversity of assets is probably good, like cash to pay bills for a couple months. If you can have some precious metals. I think, like, with regards to stocks, I think eventually stocks will have to come back up because like you'll always need companies to make shit, and they'll eventually have to go back to making shit. That's my eloquent description of the crisis, but it's going to be like a long time. So I guess it depends. Like, who do you think? I think it all comes down to who Biden's running mate is going to be, because it's quite possible he won't make it through his term if he wins.
Yeah, I mean, shit's fucked.
Hmm. So is Montana planning on doing anything more?
We'll see. The shelter in place is a joke.
Hmm. Have they declared a state of emergency or anything like that?
Yeah, they declared a state of emergency a long time ago.
Okay.
We're in shelter in place right now, but it's a joke.
Yeah, just looking at this, what you posted, I don't know if Texas has declared a state of emergency yet. The red states really fucked this one up. Um,
Well, like they fundamentally doubted the existence.
I mean, I guess some red states, like, okay, Georgia and Kansas, went full balls to the wall. But if you look at, like, the states that didn't, Idaho, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Wyoming, Missouri, Nebraska, a lot of the really, like, conservative states just like it was an interesting thing like where it went from the people on the right were like it's not just the flu bro and people on the left were like it's just the flu bro to the inverse.
Yes. I don't. I think what you're saying though. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the most of the far right. I think that the normie right always said it's just the flu, bro, and I think that the center left
Has
changed their
changed.
opinion from this
Right,
just the
okay.
flu to okay, this is a big deal. But I don't think. I think they think that this is going to pass and it's not going to have massive economic consequences, or they ignore
Like
the looming.
and I say this as someone who is very close and loves my parents dearly, but I find it profoundly disturbing how they keep or like son it's not a big deal it's just going to kill old people and I'm just like what kind of like
What aren't you old?
yeah I'm
Did
just
you
like
say?
well they don't think they're that old.
Yeah, but 65 is like is something that'll kill.
No,
Like
but
it'll
it's not
kill
even like
65 year
it's
olds.
not even about that. It's like how is that supposed to make it better? Like a lot of these like older people in their like 50s and 60s are still working and they have like decades of experience and we depend upon them a lot to like train younger generations like to run stuff. Like I'd imagine a lot of like the
Yeah, decapitation of the well-educated, basically.
yeah, and the well experience because we're going through a major generational shift and we're going to have all these people like it was going to be bad enough when they're going to retire if we have like a massive number of people die off who like has all these skills like probably most of like the public service who actually knows what's like going on is within that age bracket. I mean doesn't it get bad even after like 50? um
Well, it can kill us. Like it's
yeah,
not. It
no
wouldn't be
it's
very hard for it to kill
no
us.
it won't. It only kills people who are like 90. I mean, America's fucked because of all the like obesity and heart disease and high blood pressure and all that kind of thing. I mean, one of the issues is some countries might have a higher death rate than what America is about to have. Um, but we have no idea what even happened in Iran. Um,
Well, I think that Haran basically collapsed.
it's kind of funny because the conservative, like the Islamists, won like their biggest election victory in like decades there, but
Hmm.
then it immediately like they were unable to do anything with it.
Because hell on earth.
Yeah, like it's a joke. Like what they claim the numbers are. Like what is it they claim in Iran? 44,000. Only 3,000 people have died. I mean, yeah, so like the right in Iran won 220 seats to the reformists 50. I mean, sorry, 20. Maybe the reformists were like just too smart to go out, and they were like not going to participate. Um, but no, like I don't know. I just think like the whole thing is just like the perspective that like it's okay if millions of people die because they're older is just. I mean, just as like a Catholic, like as a Christian, that bothers me.
Just
Um,
the just like the inhumanness of all this.
yeah, like I agree. We're gonna probably have to do triage, and those are probably the people we're going to have to like triage into the can't save category. But there's a difference between that and like being like it's just the flu, bro. The people who are gonna die, like if they're that way about like rape refugees who are gonna die or like illegal immigrants, that's one thing. But like, oh, grandma and grandpa are gonna like put him out on the ice floe. It's just like really fucked. Like people are doing the whole like gas the boomers meme, but I don't know. There's kind of a point where it stops being a meme and it just starts to kind of be monumentally fucked up. Anyways, guys, I think we kind of said everything and we're kind of circling the wagons. Um, so I think I'm just gonna.
Well, okay, like can we talk about so do you think that there's going like China's going to decline?
Um,
Like I think that the US is going to massively decline. I think that China has done such a better job. I think that they're going to have a recession. But China can still sell they can still regear themselves towards East Asia. I think that they still have the ability to be pretty
Order
internally
Wars
controlled.
domestic production. I
Hmm.
mean, China's
And they've
kind of
been
need.
transferring stuff into domestic production for a long time now.
They have been or they need to,
They have been.
because that's like that was a big shortcoming of the Chinese economy. So I mean, they still have industry, so they can probably just retool it. I think it's going to be a very brutal recession, though.
Hmm.
It also depends whether or not they're going to get like another. It's going to flare up again. Um,
I think it likely will, but I guess we just get to see, don't we?
yeah, but you think they? So you've said in the past you think their numbers are bullshit, but it's accurate
I
that
don't.
they.
I think it's like an or. I think that well, it has to be accurate that it's in decline.
Yeah, that like you also got to wonder how many people died from like starvation or like the government just killing
Well, I mean, if
people.
they welded people into their own fucking apartments and houses and stuff, obviously they're gonna starve to death.
Hmm. I don't know. I just hope after this we kind of learn our. Well, we probably won't learn our lesson, but we learn our lesson a bit that maybe we should have it, if not domestic production, at least some kind of reserves of this stuff. Like, I know I keep kind of praising the job Canada's doing, but I think they said we have something like 70% of the masks we need at the moment. Um, we have a shortage, but it's not like an unsolvable one, whereas the US only has 1% of what they need. Although FEMA probably has a lot more and they just won't release it because they're stupid and greedy. Um, or is it with FEMA more just they're waiting? They can't do anything until like the federal government declares a federal emergency. That could be the case. But yeah, I think the EU's just fucked. I think
Did
Britain.
you see the Italian, like a higher up government member, burning the EU flag today?
Oh no.
Oh, it was pretty cool on Twitter
Why are they pissed off at the EU?
because they didn't receive any help whatsoever.
Right. Oh, burn flag. Here we go. Italians burn EU flag. based in red pill. We save ourselves. Oh, it's become like a meme. It looks like of Italians burning the EU flag. Um, so people are asking, why can't Trump kick FEMA's ass into gear? I'd say because he doesn't want to. Or he's not interested in doing that.
I don't know. Do you want to call it a day then?
Yep, I think I will. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Always good to have you on. So everybody, I hope you well, I can't really say you enjoyed it, but I hope you found it interesting. By the way, guys, click that little bell button. I've been told by a number of people that they're not getting notifications or my videos showing up in their feed anymore. So like the video and please hit the bell button so you can stay up to date when new stuff happens. So God bless everybody. Try to stay safe. And this is Argent signing off.